Bitcoin bulls are running out of time. The moment that they need to strike is imminent. We need to see bulls take back control, as in now. Today, tomorrow, latest this week, things are starting to roll over. We've seen some big rejections yesterday in today's show. I want to talk about that. What does this mean for price? Where are things most likely to go next? Do we, in fact, have another leg towards the downside before bulls may attempt to strike back once again? They're really leaving this late, and it is getting sketchy. So we'll talk about that. Smash the like button. Let's get straight into it. And you can see it over here on the daily, some pretty big pullbacks. One of the coins that I looked through the list is actually doing relatively well is ASTER. We have that massive falling wedge, which is on the daily time frame, and it is starting to press into the upper region, trying to break out over there. So there's some isolated coins that are moving, but for the most part, it's not really a great look. If you look at the monthlies, this is the monthly chart. A lot of the things are starting to turn over here. And it's not the only market, right? Another thing that we've been looking at is possible weakness coming into this region over here for gold, and we're starting to get that. So I am prepping. I'm really looking to start to take the short trade. I'm going to give it a little bit more time. I think we have about another day or two left for this. We'll keep an eye on it. If you do want to take that trade, remember, we're going to be taking this trade on BTC, so we can kind of start to map out where you might start to form a downtrend line, or at least a lower high, possibly something like that. But I'm looking for that weakness, and it's the same thing over here on silver. Silver pushing up a little bit more aggressively than gold. Maybe we can use this as a lead, right? So we need to see silver as well roll over from that 52.5 region. Therefore, you can place your stop loss just above. The stock market looks absolutely phenomenal. So if you are looking for good trades, well, the stock market just keeps melting towards the upside. And we have our TP now set to just over 7,000. We have the Dow Jones Industrial Average also backtesting, breaking out over there. New all-time highs once again. Very good over there. But crypto not catching a bid, not following suit. And we said if it doesn't do that, that will be a sign of the times, right? We have the NASDAQ as well bouncing off of this region and pressing towards the upside. 161.8% level is going to be the target. And most of the Magnificent Sevens look relatively decent over here. I'll update you as well on the MicroStrategy short trade. And you can see coming back towards the downside over there. And we're still keeping the final target over here. And we may even ride it beyond there, right? We'll see. But I would expect a bounce from 137, and then we can start to reevaluate that. So again, most of these TradFi trades we're taking on BTC. There's a link below if you want to unlock 40% off on your trading fees, and just get that ready, right? I think we're going to take that trade sometime this week. If I see weakness today when the markets open, I may look to take that on gold already today. Okay, quickly looking at the whale trade site over here. So what we can see first and foremost is we had a little bit of a drop off in the volume. We did see an increase in the liquidations, most of them coming from the long side, 420 million. We look for anything over $1 billion as significant to possibly create a low, a local low or a local top, depending on which way the liquidations are coming in on the long or the short side. So we're getting there. We haven't got there yet, but we are slowly getting there. Long to short ratio got negative 3% skew. It's getting there, right? So we need that skew to pick up. We need the liquidations as well to pick up over here on the 24-hour period, getting towards that billion region. And unfortunately, we saw yesterday the daily exchange volume moving back towards the downside. That tells you the wind is out the sails, and consequently, the ship can't continue, right? That's pretty much where we're at right now within the market, and you're seeing it as well when you look, for example, at this chart, which has got declining volume while the daily came into that rejective zone. So unfortunately, I don't have really a lot of good news over here. The one thing I could say is that the CPI data is going to be coming out soon, and this data will hopefully come out tomorrow because the government shutdown should also be lifted by tomorrow. I think that we get the final answer around that later on today, and that's really the only catalyst that could bring the bulls a little bit of life over there within the market. But remember, you want to assess that if it does come off or interpreted as good news and it pumps the market, how sustainable is that pump? Is there new volume coming into the market off of that pump? So still below the 21 EMA. My very easy metric to determine when to be in or out the market is if you break your stop and reversal indicators and price is hanging below the 21 EMA, and specifically it's angled directionally towards the downside, well, then you're out. Even though, yes, you have support levels below, you need to have some sort of a line in the sand. Each of these levels can bounce price. You can see up there, we spoke about that last week. The first test did bounce price. If you come into this zone over here, your golden pocket, yes, that will also bounce price. And if you hit this zone over here, yes, that will also bounce price. But at some point, you do need to have some kind of an invalidation. So bulls must strike, and they have to strike this week. If this starts to break below that trend line over there in the RSI, it's not going to be looking good. I did cover this with Whale Room, but I'll just quickly showcase it to you again, and I just removed that to show you. But this would be a descending triangle as well. So lower highs equal lows. You guys know it. 4 tests are very, very, very likely 1, 2, 3, 4 times to be a real breakdown or a breakout if it's towards the upside. And therefore, it just shows the urgency, right? The urgency that we need to see bulls strike back very soon. And if they don't do it this week, in 4 days and 17 hours time, I believe you're also going to close the 3 weekly. That is, and that MACD is also crossing towards the downside, coming from quite a height. And that is a little bit of a nail in the coffin, right? So be aware of that. Be aware of that, right? Those are for the high time frame guides, for the investors in the space, the swing traders, the long-term players. Remember, we are focusing on short-term trades. But I still want to give you the high time frame picture. So that's what you're looking at. The move is still in play with the Bollinger Band with percentile expanding. Volume is still dropping. And now there's a real chance that this becomes a daily rejection. So let's just quickly grab our arrow over there. This is a real possibility that is now your lower high. Okay, so if we get a red candle today, high probability that yesterday's candle high was your lower high, slightly missing over there the target area, which is going to be this order block that led to the bearish breakdown. But in terms of the golden pocket, well, you went straight into that golden pocket and you rejected exactly from that zone. So basically, if you take out today, yesterday's low, which I'll mark off on the chart, then expect continuation down, right? That's as simple as it is. Break that low, there you go. Continuation down, that's 102,422. Let's actually put in a horizontal range so it's a bit easier for you to read it on the right-hand side. There you go. It's written on the right-hand side of the screen. All of that's there. You break below that, expect continuation down. Unfortunately, because you've hit this level so many times, 1, 2, 3, that will make it the 4th time. 4th time into $98,000 increases the probability that you're going to break through. And you guys are saying moon, right? Black sails. Who he knows about the wind being out the sails, right? That's why he's got a ship as a profile picture. Black sails knows all about the moons, right? The sailors like to use the moons. And what do we have in terms of those moon phases? Well, we have the bare moon. The bare moon is going to be coming up. It's on the 20th of November, which is Thursday. Okay, so just showing you, painting a little bit of a bleak picture over here. Like, unfortunately, I just don't have too much, bullish signs for you. At the moment, we're below the RSI pivot level over here on the yellow line. Price is putting down. We have a bit of liquidity, a little bit of a hopium case that you run into that spike back towards the upside. That's currently coming in at $102,000. Yesterday, this order book had been completely wiped. And then neutral, right? Neutral across the board over here on the deltas. So not much to report on over there, but it's just looking like lower lows and lower highs. And in my personal opinion, even if you do spike up, because oftentimes these death crosses work like magnets, even if you do have a rally up into that, you'll see a lot of euphoria coming back into the market. But if you, test that and reject it, many call that the kiss of death. So the kiss of death is where you rally into a death cross, 50 crosses below the 200 on the daily time frame. In a downtrend, you need to use context. In a downtrend, lower lows and lower highs. And as you can see over here, you're going to be coming into a bear moon. That could just lead to that continuation down towards some of those low levels. And unfortunately, that is the most probable case. Why? Because the trend is your friend and the trend is down. It's literally as simple as that, guys. Do not overcomplicate it. It's literally as easy as that. You must reclaim key levels in order to flip the trend back up. And right now, that key level that must be reclaimed, and I'll literally highlight it for you, at the very, very, very minimum, I'd want to see price above here. To actually be even more conservative, I'd actually want to see price above here. And remember, these levels shift and change as we print new data, new information, as you continue to ride the downtrend. So for example, let's say you rally up and you come down, and then you rally up again. Now we can drop that. Now we can say that, well, here's the new level, 104,000. And so you continue to ride the trend down and down and down until that breaks. So that's what we're working with. That's what we have right now. This is going to be absolutely massive resistance coming in at $111,600. It's your order block, the bearish order block that led to the breakdown. It's where your death cross is about to occur. Again, I want to be clear. The death cross can work like a magnet. It can suck price directly into that. But when that price pulls into that and rejects, that is your kiss of death. And then you're looking at continuation lower. Okay, so yesterday what we're looking at is the sweep of the Monday low. We're looking for long trades on the CME chart, coming into that sweep, filling that gap. You got the sweep, zero reaction, no reaction. In fact, now if price runs up into this and acts as resistance, it increases the bearish case. On the spot chart, this is what it looks like. It's already done that. On the spot chart, you broke below, price rallied up, and now we are starting to test this as underside resistance. So on the very, very low time frames, at minimum, you're going to want to reclaim this. This is resistance, right? And we were hoping that you'd pull back into that, hold it as support and rally up. But you can see, look at that. You just melted straight through. And therefore, resistance, consolidation, move up. Hopefully, support failed, ran through. Is it resistance again? That is the big question. Is this going to be resistance again? Question mark over there. Well, if it is, that's your short trade. And on a low time frame, you could probably short down to about 100,850 over there. So unfortunately for the bulls, I just don't have great news for you. But if you think things are going to change, you know what to do. Go through to the poll over here and vote. Will Bitcoin be trading above 104,000 or below $104,000 1 week from now, 7 days from now? Where are we at? So below but consolidating, that means that you think it will be lower, but it's just reaccumulating and consolidating. Then 25% of you said that. Below and it's so over, 21% of you believe that we're going to continue down. Above but just consolidating above that level, also call it reaccumulation or whatever you want. 24% of you believe that. And 30% of you are holding onto the hopium case higher. We're going above and we're going to pump. Look, I am not here to make long-term predictions right now because it's a very tricky market and it always is towards the end of the cycle. But what I would say is that I'll be positioned and prepared and ready if it is going to go much higher and it's going to pump. All I need to see is certain key levels reclaimed. That's all you need to see, right? Otherwise, everything else above that is purely just hopium. So that's what we're waiting for Bitcoin. We need to recover certain key levels. Like you can make the argument that on a low time frame, you're putting in marginally high lows over here. But now we need to see price get back above into the Monday range over there. And it's going to have to print some bullish divergences and things like that. And then you can challenge this level, get back above here, and you can start to challenge those higher daily targets on this chart, which is the 111,600. We want to get above that. Okay, cool. So we've got that covered. Let me check your guys' comments. I do have a lot of things that I want to cover in the altcoin sector as well. So if you have any particular requests, do let me know. Also, if you are looking to make a Bitcoin, this is how you can do it. Go through to the link below. There is currently a very, very special competition that it's not really a competition. It's just a incentive, something that I asked for you guys from 𝗨𝗏𝗀 to keep you entertained while the market is so terrible. And it's a spinner, right? If you click on that, you can go through to the spinner. We're running it until the end of the month. You can spin this wheel. I offered also free options for anyone that lands on Whale Room. You'll get access to Whale Room. That's 1 month. That's free. You can win 1 Bitcoin. That's the grand prize, of course. You can win, $2. That's a very easy prize for most of you to get. It's just free money. 0.2 ETH, 0.002 Solana, 0.3 Sui, and 1.2 Zcash. And you have a 1 in 8 chance of getting nothing, which means your odds are good. You're going to get something, even if it's small. I just asked them, please do us a favor, guys. Get us something on the table over here. So if you want to participate in that, the link is below. Just go over there and spin the wheel. You would have to have a 𝗨𝗏𝗀 account. No KYC. I think it's the best no KYC or non-KYC exchange in the world. So there we have it. Let's move on. Let's get into ETH. Let's get into Solana. Let's have a look at the altcoins over here. Where are things at? What should we do with these positions? Because we have these positions on the table. MicroStrategy, we're obviously in the money. We're going to leave that. Bitcoin, we about flat, break even. We have ETH, which was down quite significantly. At one point, it was down like 40%. We've now recovered because we added to the investment or added margin at the lows. And now we're only down 16%. So let's evaluate what we should do with these charts. ETH BTC looks like it wants to bounce from this level. This is a pretty significant and key level. But again, it needs to happen very, very, very soon if it is going to happen at all. So now you have a bit of a challenge over here because similar to Bitcoin, this is just downtrending. It's pretty clear. Lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, possibly a lower high already over here. But at the end of the day, you would at least need to see price recovering to get bullish. You basically would need to see this little order block over here, which is around that 3,700. You probably need to see an aggressive move up. You're going to reject over here, flip that into support, and therefore that would flip this and get it ready for high prices. We're not at that point yet. So, do you hold with the risk of water falling through one more time down into the mid-range, which is going to be like 2,800? Or do we just hold on and hope? Well, one thing I can tell you is hope is not a good strategy. It's a terrible strategy. So, yeah, I mean, what we could do is we could maybe also take out a head short trade with stops just above these recent rejective candles in case it does mark down one more time. But to do that successfully, you're going to have to calculate your position size properly. So I'll think about it. I'll think about that on a serious note. That is for this account over here. I mean, it almost is worth just stopping because this has got like $27,000 and we don't want to lose too much money over there. And it is at risk. Let's go through the rest and we'll paint a bit of a picture over here. So Zcash coming down quite aggressively. Let's go on the 4-hour time frame. Yesterday, I did tell you that's possibly a complacency bounce and you're going to mark all the way down to 309. I still maintain that. There is a chance you put in a short-term bounce, but I think that over the coming weeks and months, and I did say that on a previous video when this was super, super hyped and running up, I said that in my opinion, this would have set in its ultimate top by the end of December. So I think that Zcash is probably going to retrace down to about 311. If you're very bullish on this for the long term, I guess that would be an opportunity for you. XRP. Going on to XRP, let's switch on to the daily for that one. Similar to the rest of the market, just lower lows and lower highs. I think that you could come a bit deeper into 198, but this is only a trade that I would take as a range trade off of the range lows. I don't think that there's really any other option. Otherwise, if you break and hold below 193, this is going to look like macro distribution. So nothing of really significance or high probability of this downsloping trend line. You basically need to clear that. That would also create a high that will get you above 269. Solana was in a rejective zone. I should have just taken the short yesterday because we planned for that. We said on the breakdown over here, you're probably going to get some sort of a bearish retrace into that level over there. And you basically got it, but it didn't hit my levels. I wanted to see like 175, came down. Now you're at risk of this dropping to about 100, 108. So this definitely looks heavier than not. It's more bearish than bullish. And therefore, I would maintain that bearish exposure until such time as you can get above here. There you go. Those are the candles to get to reclaim 188 for Solana. I don't have any Solana trades on the table. Sui just bleeding through as well, all the way back down into this previous tops, now potentially flipping into support over here. You would need a low time frame to time an entry over here, but there's just no volume in the market. And that's what we can see over here, right? Volume being sucked out. Where's our little volume chart over here? There we go. Volume just being sucked out of the market. If this rejects over here, by the way, that's going to be a lower high. And now you need to pay a lot of attention to this $40 to $45 billion region. Breaking below and through that will be, quite a painful experience for the rest of the market. So again, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm hitting you with a lot of bad news over here, but I'm just telling you the truth. It all looks terrible. Sonic just coming down. But the saying, sometimes the markets look dumpiest right before the market is pumpiest. Remember that, right? Dumpiest before pumpiest. But you need a trigger plan. If you are going to play the pumpiest move after it looks most dumpiest, you must have a trigger plan and some sort of a plan and a low time frame entry with a stop loss and risk management. But right now it looks very dumpy, right? It looks very, very, very dumpy. So we have Ash coming in over here and saying, max pain is up. It is possible, but I have to disagree based on the data that I've looked at, which is from you guys. You voted on the polls. Let me see if I have those polls over here. Give me a second, guys. Let me actually pull some of these polls in. What is this one over here? Let me double click over here. Here's some of our polls, right? Let's just pull this into view for the screen over here. I have another one somewhere as well, but there's what you guys voted. This is on a previous show. What percentage of your net worth is allocated to the crypto markets? And you guys are in deep. More than 50% of your portfolios in the market, and that was 52% of you that voted that. 25 to 50%, 13% of you voted that, right? So I think Max Payne still remains down, unfortunately. And yeah, there's not much that's in an uptrend. This is down, as we'll say, not looking good. Still in a downtrend, threatening to break below these lows. You think it can't flip this into resistance? I will remind you, we saw that on TON. There was TON, what was once support, now flipped into resistance. Look at the similarities. What was once support, potentially going to flip into resistance. TON marked down, and now it's consolidating underneath that level. So it all looks bad, but it doesn't mean that there's not opportunities out there. Realistically, there are a lot of trade opportunities over here in the traditional markets. And sometimes I wonder if I should just, start like a later show, something that's around US market hours so that we can actually trade the stocks. I know a lot of the live viewers right now might disagree because you're probably based in the EU or somewhere in the UK, and maybe it's part of your morning routine, but I don't know. There could be more opportunities there. Let's have a look at USDT dominance. Still the ascending triangle, price rallied up, almost hit the target, came back tested as support, and now you got to monitor this. So monitor this on the lower time frames. Lower time frames did start to attempt to get back into an uptrend, and therefore you probably want to pay attention to this. So you put in a nice higher high. If it comes down, holds this as support and for a higher low over here, maybe working its way back. And that's why this week is so vitally important, because we want to see, well, if you're bullish, you want to see this reject. And, personally, I'm rooting for the bulls. I want them to win, but I have to choose the winning side, which right now is still the bears. And if this begins to close outside of here, rally up to 6.4, there's going to be a lot of pain in that environment. So monitor that USDT dominance chart on the low time frames. Remember, by being in USDT while USDT dominance is moving towards the upside, theoretically, you're in the money. You long this chart and it's going up. It means you're right and you are making money. So yeah, keep an eye out on this chart. A little bit of support coming in at 5.29% over there. Okay, let's move through the rest of these charts within the altcoin sector. Tron, maybe its days are over. This could move all the way back down to 20 cents. XPL still looks absolutely horrendous. I did cover this yesterday, and I said that it's only bullish if you get above these levels. This is the value in waiting for recoveries of certain key zones, because some people were FOMOing in, and obviously it's come down again, and now you're threatening these lows, which means probably new lows. Pump doesn't look too bad, right? It's one of the charts that's holding up. Obviously Pump has a lot of ties to Solana since they launched everything on Solana, and they one of the most successful revenue generating protocols. So in my experience, what I have seen is if you do want to play the game of picking an altcoin, work with the revenue generating protocols that have high revenue. These have a chance of survival because oftentimes they initiate token buyback mechanisms. And look at something, for example, like BNB. Let's actually go to BNB. Where's our BNB chart? Here's BNB. Let's go to BNB. I know BNB recently showed weakness, and I did say similar to Solana yesterday that this would be a short trade. But what I more want to show you about BNB is when you zoom out, this has been one of the most successful charts moving towards the upside. And it's because, they have capital to deploy. As an exchange, they basically require that a lot of these projects, if they want to be listed, they have to hold and stake a certain amount of BNB, and consequently the chart goes up. Now it looks a bit cooked in the short term, right? I think this thing is also going to reject. In fact, this is almost even a worthwhile short trade over here. Like, what is your risk? If this is the low high over here, your risk over here is 7-8%. Okay, 7-8%. Real invalidation would be below 1,097. And we did mention this. We spoke about this one as, possibly having top. A euphoric blow off top, price comes down, complacency bound, starting to roll over. And now this could retrace all the way back down here to about 676. So I just don't have anything bullish for you guys. It doesn't look good. This is why we have to default to the short-term trading. So one chart that does look okay, and it's applying pressure into this downsloping trend line, is ASTER. Again, you know, you have to take these chart patterns with a pinch of salt. There's not that much history when I say this chart pattern, a falling wedge, right? Price moving up into a wedge, falling wedge comes down. Theoretically, when a falling wedge breaks, you can target multiple TPs, TP1 and TP2 all the way at the top there. So that's going to be like 185. And then after that, 237. But not enough price history to give this massive validity. So yeah, it's really in the bulls' court. Bulls need to take control. Bulls need to get Bitcoin back above some of those key levels. If we start to close below that 50 EMA, a lot of the market is going to start to flip incredibly bearish. We will look for long trade opportunities off of each of the bounce areas. But you need to be careful, right, when it comes to your spot trading. Okay, let's see as well. Let's have a look at others. Others fighting for its life over here on this trend line. Also need to see a bit of a turn. If it is going to happen, it has to happen in the next month or so. So the market can change very quickly, just to be clear, guys. You know, it takes one, big player to come into the market and to flip things back long again because of the illiquid books. So not much liquidity in the market. But understand whatever chart it is that you're playing. Understand if you are of the mindset that you're buying something with, for spot play, go and look at that chart. One of the charts that I spoke about a while ago was Solana against Bitcoin. And I drew this chart out that I'm about to show you months ago. And it's playing out exact, guys. I mean, you can go back to this. You can go back in July and I drew this out. I haven't changed a single thing. I said, most likely to run up over here, reject off of that. And then I'm looking for Solana BTC to come all the way back down over here. And it's happening. It's playing out in real time. We got about another 25 to 40% down against Bitcoin terms, which is not great, right? Not great at all. So yes, you'll have a little bit of an interim low coming in at 0.0012, but that's 1, 2, 3 tests. If it bounces into another lower high, hits it for the 4th time, it's going to breach through. And then this becomes your major support. Okay. So you need to consider these things, right? Crypto it's not a great investment strategy. Buying and holding crypto will punish you. I'm sure you can all attest to that. Anyone that has done that, you've probably lost hordes of money. If there is anything you want to buy and hold, it would be Bitcoin. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's check the comments out over here. All right, guys, let's see. What the hell is others? I don't know what you mean. All these tokens don't do shit. Well, others is this, right? The others chart. I'm not sure if you're serious about that question, but this is the others chart. This is, and I agree, they don't do anything. Most of them are absolute scams. But all the coins on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, subtract the top 10 and you get an index that looks like this. And that refers to that altcoin sector. And it's not being good, right? We haven't really had anything quite like the prior cycles. The most optimistic time period that we had was November. You can see October leading into November, December 2024. That was basically so far the major top. And there's a lack of liquidity in the market right now. So you need to wait for those confirmations if you are playing any of these charts over here. Let's have a look actually at some of the top memes even. So just to put some context on the broader picture, that was the exciting period, November, December 2024. That was your alt season. Prices since then come all the way back down. Major range low over here for 𝗕𝗄. Remember, before buying any of these things, look at this versus BTC. So you can go back to these charts and you can have a look at, for example, I'll probably even have it on here. 𝗕𝗄 against BTC. There's the 𝗕𝗄 BTC chart. Even worse than the 𝗕𝗄 USD chart, it's probably going to retrace all the way back down to that low order block, those lows, which is a lot further down. Okay. POPCAT, it's going to look terrible. We can go to POPCAT. Nothing would have survived, right? Nothing would have survived. There's POPCAT. Straight down. It is major lows over here, but there's no way you can buy this. Absolutely no way. Anything over here is just a short-term trade. All very risky. There's your downtrend. You need to get above 25 cents. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. How's Murad doing? Unbelievably, his account is still worth like $26 million, despite the drawdown, which is just absolutely crazy. But he'll ride it to zero. Like if they don't get a pump and an exit, if he doesn't get his parabolic blow off top that he wants to see in like 2026, he'll probably round trip everything. So yeah, look guys, what do we do with these positions? I think it's probably wise to close this trade at least because this is a bigger trade in terms of this total account. So, I would rather just get long again on ETH off of a confirmation. I think that it's taken too long. You guys will know that what I've said in terms of the timing. We've spoken a lot about the timing, and I gave bulls the benefit of the doubt this entire week. And even if ETH were to spike up here now, that would probably take that trade to break even. But I would still rather wait for this, right? Even if it spikes, I'd rather wait for something like that, consolidate, and I'll just re-enter. And I'll probably only enter marginally higher. If we pull up our tool over here, I'll be entering probably 5 to 7% higher versus risking that this is a lower high and it's going to go down into 2,800. So consequently, I'm going to close the ETH trade. There it is. We're taking a 15% loss on that trade. It's done. 15% loss. As for Bitcoin, we need to make a decision there as well. So do I close the Bitcoin trade? Is that a lower high? Is this going to bounce out of here? Or is it going to mark down one more time? The Bitcoin is not too much risk on the table. If we click on that over there, this is a much smaller trade. And I was willing to buy down to like 98K. I'm going to think about that. I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know when it comes to Pinex if I'm going to close that one. I do want to take other trades there as well. Just by the way, there's a lot of trades, even in the TradFi markets, for example, the silver short, the gold short. These are all possible to take on Pinex, but I'm just waiting and biding my time for the perfect entry, even though it's a grid strategy. Okay. Cool, guys. Let's see. 𝗲𝗔𝗐 is another exit liquidity dump pump dump. Let's have a look. We'll look at 𝗲𝗔𝗐. Let's go to this chart over here. I don't think I've pulled that chart up for a long time. 𝗲𝗔𝗐 USDT. Okay, we'll use this chart over here. Let's go on the weekly. Yeah, it looks terrible. I mean, it's dead. Look at that. So from high to low, 97% down. 97% down. Gaussian channel still not broken, you say. I don't have the Gaussian channel with me now. It's going to take me a while to find it in my massive list of charts. I mean, I can try. I can try very quickly over here. Let's just see if I have the Gaussian channel. Gaussian channel, we can look at it. I think I have it here. I just don't know if it's like well mapped out, but let's check. We'll check out the Gaussian channel. Let's throw the Gaussian channel on. Okay. And I'm looking at the Gaussian channel on the weekly. So the thing is, this is actually interesting. It's interesting that you bring that up. So thank you for that. We'll go on to the total charts first. There it is. So when you're looking at the total charts, there it is. Compression between the 9 and 18 EMA coming into the lower band, losing that. So if we start to close, the upper band, if we close below the upper band of the Gaussian channel, you have to look down to the mid-level, which also so happens to line up with the horizontal that are marked out at 3 trillion. So that's quite a big drawdown, right? Closing below there means it calls for this pullback into the mid-level. And then, that's where things could end. If you bounce and set in a lower high and you can't get back out of here, it's not going to be looking good. That's 12.65% down. We can go to total 2 and see what that one looks like. All right, total 2. Is it loading? What is going on over here? 1 second, guys. Let me do a refresher. My team did tell me to reset my laptop and I actually forgot. So major highs, 1, 2, 3, rejection. Let that Gaussian channel load. There you go. Breaking already below. Your mid-level comes in at 1.18 trillion. Okay, total 3. Also, compression, breaking below. Mid-level comes in over here at 838. So you've already started to close below the upside of that Gaussian channel. Let's have a look over here at Bitcoin as well. So there it is, compression, right? compression between the 9 and 18, breaking below, this can come down to 91,000 is going to be your mid-level for a potential bounce. So look, what happens if price rallies now this week? Then there's still opportunity. If price can rally and get back above last week's high, you're in the money. And if you look at that, it's similar to the levels that I've outlined on the daily. So have a look at this. Very, very, very similar to the levels outlined on the daily, and I'll mark it off with the magnet. So we want to mark off exactly last week's high, 110,700. If you get above that, well, you would have been saved from breaking below the upper band of the Gaussian channel, which we've now already seen, by the way, on Total 3 and things like that. So you should expect that it's possible that can happen. But getting above that gets you above that compression of the 9 and 18. And it's a very similar level to this. There you go, on the daily structure. That's more or less where that death cross is. So all in all, being long, super risky in this environment. Sometimes it's better to just wait for higher prices, buy a bit higher, but you have the insurance and the confirmation that things look okay. Let's look at ETH on the Gaussian channel also coming into, this has hardly got going. The Gaussian channel hasn't moved up quite like the others. Alrighty. Okay. Let me check your guys' comments. Let's scroll through over here. So your bullish hopium case is truly going to come down to what the Fed is going to do, right? What's going to happen with the CPI, what's going to happen with inflation data, what's going to happen with, QE, coming into quantitative easing, how effective is it going to be, how much of that liquidity is going to flow into crypto, the government shutdown, tariff things. All of this is your potential bullish catalyst. But it's not necessarily enough. What you need to study is when that catalyst actually takes place, how does the sentiment shift and how does the price follow? So that's it from me today, guys. I'll see you all on the next one. I hope you have a good day. Check out the links below if you do want to spin the wheel for, of course, for 𝗨𝗏. You can win a full Bitcoin over there, and I'll check you guys on the next one. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon. Cheers for now.